Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Declan Carolyn. I'm co-chair of ECR Community and General Manager of ECR Ireland. Welcome to the second webinar in our Circular Economy series, Consumer Demand in the Circular Economy. We're going to wait just about 2 or 3 minutes with some people checking in, and in about 2 or 3 minutes time, Teresa from ECR GS1 Austria will kick it off. Thanks, and hope you enjoy the webinar.
Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome. Good afternoon to all the Europeans. A very early morning in the Western Hemisphere, and a warm welcome also to Asia, because we do have people online from over 18 different countries, from the very west, Colombia, to the very east of China. So I'm very proud of being your host today. My name is Teresa Mischek-Moritz, and I head up the Austrian ECR initiative. So what's on our agenda today? Over the next 45 minutes, I will give you a very short introduction into ECR and the circular economy. And we're going to have two guest speakers with very interesting topics. First of all, there is Natalie Babbage. She's going to tell you about a global study about what consumers perceive about our environmental challenges and what real steps they are prepared to take. So who cares and who does? Furthermore, I'm happy to introduce our second guest speaker, that is Hugues Pelletier. He is going to tell you how he is responsible with his company Petrel to introduce the loop concept within Carrefour, a very great initiative within the circular economy. We will take questions at the very end, and you are asked to key in your question in the chat box. I also would like to beg you to put your microphones on mute so everybody can have the best experience when listening for the next 45 minutes. So just to start very quickly, what is ECR? ECR stands for Efficient Consumer Response and is a collaboration model alongside the entire value chain. Our vision, so to say, is transforming the way we work together to fulfill consumer wishes better, faster, and at less cost. We strongly believe, to be in the very right place to look after a circular economy on a local and on a global scale. So who and what is ECR Community? We are a global association for all ECR organizations in the retail and consumer product sector. We are not-for-profit membership, and we are very proud of having countries like Mexico and Chile, Colombia, many European countries, almost all of the European countries, up to China, Russia, and the eastern part of the world as part of our members. When it comes to circular economy, I'm pretty sure I don't need to explain a lot because you guys on the line are probably all specialists in that area. So when we talk about circular economy, it's a new way how to do business, a new way how to design, make, and use things within the boundaries of our planet. And how are we going to do that? It's by reducing waste and maximizing the use of our resources. As always, a picture says more than 1,000 words. So we are moving from a linear economy where we produce, make, we use a product, we dispose it, and with this, we pollute our environment. We move from this linear approach to a circular approach, meaning all what we make, we need to use, we need to reuse, ideally we remake it and recycle so we can keep all our materials in the circle as long as it's possible. How does this affect you and your businesses? Whether you are a manufacturer and you produce innovation, or you're a retailer, you store these products, or you're a collection company or a recycling company, or if you are a consumer, so each and everybody online here is affected and has a role to play. And that is when I would like to hand over to Natalie from Kantar, who will give you insights on how much consumers really care about our environment. Over to you, Natalie.
Great, thank you very much. Just waiting for the slides to change. Thank you. So I'm from Kantar and I have a global role, and this Who Cares Who Does study is something that I did back in September. It's really about understanding how consumers feel about mostly plastic and the environment. But because actually I work on the household panel, so we're in a really unique position. We can actually compare what people say they care about, what they actually claim to do, and then finally, whether or not that impacts how much they spend when they go to the store and buy FMCG. So very much, what do they care about, what do they do, and how does that change their purchasing? It was a huge study. Actually, it was done on over 65,000 individuals. It covers Latin America, parts of Asia, so like China, Indonesia, Eastern and Western Europe, and the US. What I'm sharing today is a small excerpt of a much larger study. We covered global issues, not just around plastic, but climate change. We looked at how consumers engaged about them and what they worried about, what they look for in their products, their packaging, what actions they take, and what they would like to see from brands and retailers. It was done in partnership with Europanel and also GfK. Are really looking for manufacturers to take the most responsibility for ACT. So 43% of them actually think manufacturers should be the first person making changes rather than themselves or governments. When we asked people which issue are you most worried about, and we gave them quite a long list of different things they could choose, and they had to rank the top 5. The biggest thing overall globally was climate change. This was the #1 issue for people in the US, Mexico, Spain, France, Sweden. The second biggest issue was plastic waste. And you can see in Western Europe that this was an issue that was really front of mind for people, also in Indonesia. When we get to Latin America and Russia, water pollution was the biggest issue. except for Chile, which was water shortages, which makes a lot of sense given they're under severe shortage at the moment. In Poland, the biggest concern was air pollution, and in China, it was about food safety. We also saw a lot in China that when they do care about plastic, they specifically care about the human health angle. So we know that people care about plastic waste. It's the #2 biggest issue and very front of mind in Europe. But what steps do they actually take in order to reduce their personal footprint? So in the survey, what we did is we provided a list of actions that you could do in your day-to-day life. And then we asked people to say, how often do you do this? Ranging on a 5-point scale from never to frequently. What we learned from this is there's a couple of actions that a lot of people do, so more than 60%. The most popular by a mile was taking reusable bags to the store. I think this is a really great learning in that if you basically force people to do things or you add some kind of financial incentive, then behaviour can change very quickly. The second thing is using rags for cleaning. So that kind of thrifty behaviour is really common. Also refilling water rather than buying everything completely fresh from a bottle. So these things really a lot of people do, more than 90% in some European countries. The next kind of bucket of things is things like bringing lunch, avoiding single-use cutlery when you're having events at home, and drinking tap water. So it could be linked to saving money as well as an environmental lens. Now, when we get to things done by just over 30% of people, this is where things get a little bit more inconvenient, where consumers have to plan or they have to make a change. For example, bringing a reusable hot drink cup with them. That's something they have to plan and carry. Switching from shower gel to bar soap. Though when they do switch from shower gel to bar soap, they buy 4 times as much soap. Actually choosing the store you go to based on whether it wraps its fruit or vegetables in wrapping paper. Actually, again, few people are willing to do that. Also going without, so avoiding plastic toys and homeware. We then have the kind of the hardest things are the things done by less than 20% of people overall. People do not want to avoid drinks in plastic bottles. So again, if I'm out and I'm thirsty, I would rather just waste the plastic than go without a drink for the majority of people. Actually switching to reusable beauty products like cotton pads, baby, fem care. Still not many people doing that. And also just refusing to buy a product if it's in plastic. So if I go to the supermarket and I want to buy chicken or I want to buy whatever it is, I'm not going to go, actually, I'm not going to have that just because of the packaging. To try and make it a bit more sense and to understand the extent of the action, we created an easy segmentation. We've got the eco-actives. This group is people that do most of the actions always or frequently. We've then got our eco-believers. So they do most of the actions now and again, and they say plastic is in one of their top 5 concerns. We then have eco-considerers who do some of the actions now and again, but don't think plastic is the biggest issue. And finally, we have the eco-dismissers. So they do almost none of the actions, even now and again, and they don't think plastic's a problem. So how important are these different groups across the world? Globally, 16% of people fit into our most engaged group. This goes up when you get to Western Europe, which makes a lot of sense given the increased amount of press that we see, especially in countries like UK and Germany. We've then got the eco-dismissers, and these actually make up half of the population. I think it's quite common to see in studies that kind of everybody cares about the environment, everybody's super engaged, but the reality is that half of people aren't really doing anything at all. And that actually rises when you get to developing countries in Asia and in Latin America. And I think we really need to remember when we're developing our strategy that there are these people that don't see sustainability as a priority, and how can we kind of get them, make it easy for them to change their actions. If we dive in a little bit to the eco-actives, we can actually see that there's some clear differences in what they buy when they go to the store. They actually spend less on fresh meat, frozen meat, and they're also less likely to buy soft drinks and bottled water. So they are actively trying to avoid things that are particularly bad for the environment. We also find that there's some areas that they spend more on. So this chart looks at the percentage of eco-actives within individual categories. So for example, in Spain, eco-actives make up 13% of the spending on FMCG. So they're a significant minority group. When you get into organic food, they make up 30%. And when you get to dairy, it's nearly 50%. So we see a really strong overlap between worrying about plastic and the environment, but also caring about whether something is organic. We also see a similar pattern with caring about fair trade, whether it's animal cruelty free, and we see really strong overtrades on things like eco-friendly brands, which mostly we're finding in home care. So if you're a manufacturer, what kind of things are people wanting from you? We asked people, who do you think should be most responsible for plastic waste? And 43% said manufacturers. The next one down was governments, then consumers, and at the bottom of the pile for us was retailers. Despite the fact that they're looking to manufacturers, when you ask them who's doing a good job, can you name one manufacturer? Only 12% of people were able to do that. This kind of shows us that a lot of the actions being done aren't cutting through, and there's a big opportunity to be more proactive in how you talk to consumers about what you're doing. We gave them a number of choices about what kind of actions could a manufacturer take and which ones would they most like to see. They could choose up to 3. The first thing that jumped out was that they would really like packaging that just wasn't plastic, so glass or paper, or recyclable plastic that can be 100% reused. Essentially what they want is to be able to buy the products the same as before, but not have to be creating waste with their habits. They don't want to change their habits, they just want to have the packaging changed for them. The next one, which was also quite high, was reducing the plastic quantity in the product packaging. So again, they just want to be able to buy it and have the impact less. The next kind of section down was around biodegradable plastic and biodegradable refills. This was much lower in developing countries, which suggests that there might be some awareness challenges in this at the moment. We also asked about a deposit scheme, and this was less popular, except for countries where, like France, where it's been talked about in the press, and people are a little bit more aware of what it entails. What there was much less demand for was things like financial support for global initiatives. It's not really good enough to sell a load of products in plastic and then advertise that you're doing an ocean cleanup afterwards. We also found in most countries that they're not interested in more information about packaging or recycling or just better labeling. It's really about, at the source, helping them not have to do anything, just buy it and it's better. We also asked a little bit about retailers. Relatively, retailers were considered to be doing a better job. So at least 17% of consumers could name at least one retailer. This still is a very low percentage, and I think it leaves a lot of improvement. We also asked for retailers, what kind of steps would you love to see to reduce waste? The first thing that was in everybody's mind was about fresh food. So less plastic for fresh food, no plastic bags for fruit and veg, non-plastic for fruit and veg. So the first three of them were all about fresh. This is something that we hear a lot as well when we're talking to consumers. There's very little awareness about the whole chain of getting from the farm to the store. So from the consumer perspective, you've got my tomatoes in a plastic packet, and I have that packet from when I put it in the trolley to kind of when I put it in my fridge. So for some packaging, it's only working for them for a day, and they're not really aware of the fact that actually that packaging helps keep it fresh for longer, and it reduces food waste. And so it's very much a simplistic, I see plastic, that's bad, rather than having an awareness of the full picture. Having recyclable plastic packaging was one of the things they would like to see, and biodegradable was up there as well. So again, it's not removing packaging, it's not necessarily having refills, it's more about making sure the plastic isn't there for them to buy. Lower down the scale, it was again about support for global initiatives, local initiatives, and instructions. It's really about making sure what they can buy on the shelf helps them reduce their waste. Retailers are in a really interesting position because plastic waste has an opportunity to become a point of differentiation. It also creates a bit of a risk because at the moment, a lot of the systems, and I think this will be talked about later, that enable you to go without plastic actually can mean that you're not going to your normal supermarket. So if I take me personally, I've been trying to avoid plastic, and that means that I've been buying my fruit and veg from a local fruit and veg stall rather than Tesco, where I used to go. Likewise, when I've been buying things like beauty products and laundry, I've been getting it on subscription through Instagram. So again, you're taking money out of the normal retail stores that I would go to. But there is a really great opportunity for retailers to be able to demand specific solutions from manufacturers. So this Solero example was something that was developed in Germany between one of the retailers and Unilever. I think that for retailers and brands together, it's a really great opportunity to have a more kind of fun and visible environment. This is an example of a refill station for home care products. And again, that's a very, very visible thing. Even if not all the customers necessarily use it, they'll see that when they're shopping and they'll have a positive impression about that retailer. I also really love this M&M's example because you're taking away the plastic packaging, but you're also creating a really fun experience. You know, you could just have a whole load of orange ones or your favorite color, and you can have a bit of fun with it. Also for this home care example, what we saw is that this brand used really great in-store displays to show consumers and educate them about the packaging and how it's actually environmentally friendly. And so rather than just kind of put a little sticker on the back of the packet saying, oh, it's ocean plastic, they used their gondola end promotion to have big pictures and education saying, you know, this is ocean plastic, this saves X amount, and, you know, a picture of happy seagulls and all that kind of stuff. So it was a really fun kind of learning moment. And this is something brands can really do together with retailers to create something new. So, yeah, what are my takeouts from the huge study? The first thing is that consumers do care, but they expect manufacturers to lead the way. One thing that I haven't talked about so much today is about people's willingness to pay more. Actually, only 50% of people even claimed they would pay more for products. So you've got this real disconnect between consumers saying, I don't really want to pay more, and then the eco-friendly products available being significantly more. For example, in home care in the UK, the brands that are marked sort of eco are 60% more than the market average. So this is outside the expectations of consumers. Even today, Colgate have just released a new toothpaste which is completely recyclable, which is amazing, but it's 5 times more than normal cost. And so inevitably you're only going to reach a very small group of consumers who are engaged and have the money. So in our definition, we do have this core group of consumers called the eco-actives. They make up 16% globally, and some of the countries with the highest percentage were Austria and Germany. This shows you the extent of the kind of people that really want to be engaged. And I think we need to think about realistically how we can make this group bigger. So in Germany, we think the fact that the press has been so active against plastic, and also when you're starting to go to the stores, there's a lot of displays. This is kind of creating a condition where people kind of find it very socially acceptable to be engaged. So if you're a manufacturer, there's a really big opportunity to communicate more. Only 12% of people can actually name a manufacturer doing a good job. And I know from my work on this with manufacturers that there's loads of great things being done. So how do you cut through and show them that your brand's trying to make a difference? The most obvious thing is to try and remove the plastic wherever you can. I know that everyone's really trying to do that, but every little thing you do, you should make a fuss about. We also found in the wider study that there's a lot of overlap between organic, natural, and the desire to reduce plastic, be fair trade, animal cruelty. So you need to make a holistic brand story about kind of nature and safety, because that's really going to appeal to the guys that are most engaged. As a retailer, the thing you're being judged on first and foremost is your packaging in the fresh aisle. So wherever you can remove that, do that visibly. And if you can't do that, if you have any way of communicating the trade-off, that will perhaps make consumers more accepting. Though in my experience, they tend not to read too much around the products. By partnering with brands, you've got a great opportunity to refresh the category and to really show consumers what you're doing. A small few small things such as the refill station would be quite attention grabbing. They'd even make the news in the UK, to be honest. And that would really stand out the brand and the retailer. So for both, there's definitely something that can be done around simplifying the advice. It's really confusing. When we had the verbatims back from the study, there was a lot of people saying, well, you know, there's so many things I need to think about, I just get completely confused. I've got my carbon neutral, I've got plastic waste, I've got animals, I've got fair trade, rainforests. If there's any industry-wide ability to create a unified score, or maybe something like a traffic light, like we have for food ingredients, that kind of thing would be huge in helping consumers make decisions. So ultimately, even the people most engaged are just not clear what they should be focusing on and which products have what benefits. Very few people are going to scan a QR code and, you know, check the whole supply chain of a product, even if we provide that information. It's also something we should think about, what things do link to water and air pollution, because these are huge issues for a lot of countries. So that's it for my part today. As I said, there's a wider report. There's a free version you can download from the link here. And if you have any questions outside of this that we don't cover today, you're welcome to get in touch. So thank you very much.
So thank you, Natalie. Thank you very much. I think there have been very interesting examples, but on the other hand, there is still, we all together need still to do. We need to educate consumers. We need to get into touch with the various possibilities of starting points as a manufacturer or as a retailer. To everyone who is listening, please, if you do have questions, just key them in the chat function, and we will collect them and we'll take them after our second guest speaker. And so here, let me introduce Hugues Pelletier, and he is the founder of Petrel, that is a circular economy company that has started the project Loop to bring the project Loop. We have just seen previously from Natalie into Carrefour, and he is now going to explain what they did it, how they did it, and how consumers have reacted so far. So Hugues, over to you.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Teresa, for this introduction, and thank you also, Natalie. I totally agree with you about the consumer concerns about plastic, but also this concern is also shared with manufacturers and retailers. But it's also an opportunity for all the system to move to reusable. And I want to share with you today that I'm convinced that the future belongs to zero waste and about e-commerce. And I can do that because, so I'm Hugues Pelletier, I'm formerly Carrefour person. I've worked 14 years at Carrefour, 7 years at the headquarter part, and 7 years I was the managing director of Carrefour Shop, that is the home delivery e-commerce site of Carrefour France. And during that period, I delivered, I think, around 200 million products with single usage plastics. And this, I delivered that within between 10 to 15 million plastic bags. So like 2 years ago, I've met Tom Saki, the founder and CEO of TerraCycle, that was launching the initiative Loop. And I with a discussion with him, my point of view was that the real future of the Loop project was to be introduced, to be really integrated within a retailer program. And so I launched my own company, that's its name, Petrel. It's a seabird in the southern oceans, to help Loop to get in France first, and also to be integrated within Carrefour. And what I want to share with you is first, what is Loop? I'm sure you have heard of it. I hope you have heard of it since the first communication that happened just 1 year ago at the Davos Forum. But it's important for me to come back to what is Loop. Second point, communicate about how it works, how we're going to manage the processes on the customer endpoint, and involving both the manufacturer and the retailer. And then I will also give you some first customer feedback, consumer insights about what's the first feelings within the single project, the standalone project that has been launched 6 months ago. So for information, this project should be launched within Carrefour in the next few weeks from now. And we will, from that, we will build, and this is a long journey to make the returnable process back in France and in many countries through this Loop project. So let me switch to the next slide. Okay, got it. Oops, I went one more. Okay, first of all, let me describe what is Loop. Okay, Loop is a global platform that is enabling the reuse of packagings, but this packaging, it's not only the waste. They are qualitative, innovative, and also zero waste. And this is this triple value that make it happen, because we are going out of a single-use packaging. So this is some opportunity to have better material that then give a better value, better perception of the product to the end consumer. And also, because there is more value on the packaging, the manufacturer can bring innovative features within the packaging. And let me just describe some of these examples that will give you a vision of how large is the transformation. First of all, from the left part, we have Danone with the Evian bottle coming from the plastic and moving to the glass bottle. This is quite simple because the glass bottle exists already. It's used in the restaurant and cafe all around in France. So finally, it's just to deliver this type of bottle through e-commerce. And every time these bottles at the end will be taken back, to take back, clean, refilled, and sent again. Okay, so Danone is very easy one. Coca-Cola, it's not very difficult, but it's quite interesting. You know, for years, at least in France, the Coca-Cola was not sold anymore in glass bottle. It was only plastic bottles or cans. Through this program, the Coca-Cola is going to be sold again with glass bottles, and with the impact that I don't know if you know that, but the Coke in a glass bottle doesn't have exactly the same taste. It's more tasty for the one that really just love Coke. And so there's, through this changing the material, it's also have a qualitative impact on the product. Then there's PepsiCo with the Tropicana bottle. It's a very high volume sold, and they are moving. They will propose in parallel this glass bottle that's quite nice, with maybe less marketing in the bottle, and when you share it for brunch, it's quite nice. And what's interesting, this is a product with what you call with short. This is fresh Tropicana. So we have to manage also the cycle of the fresh product. Then we have a Mondelez with the Milka cookie that is proposed, and they are moving with 3 types of can boxes, and with very qualitative again. And once it's on your kitchen, on your fork to eat, it's quite, also in terms of marketing, it's quite positive. You have also the ice cream Häagen-Dazs in the US, because it belongs to Nestle. In Europe, this is Yoplait and General Mills who owns it. But in the US, they launch a stainless steel packaging with double layer, so there is some air in between, and so there is insulation. The frost keep within the ice cream, so you can go for a picnic without using a cooler. So it's quite it brings innovation to the product. Then there is Procter & Gamble with Pantene in the US and Herbal Essence in France, where you can move to the aluminium bottles, that is more qualitative in the bathroom than ever. And also you have some local products that are proposed within a tin, and this tin, at the end, you're going to take it back to wash it, but you're going to remove the sticker, and then you will be able to use this tin for other purpose. Could be pasta, rice, or whatever. So you can bring some new standards in terms of packaging that could be multi manufacturers. And also, totally at the right, there's also Carrefour is providing some his own brand with some products. There's already 30 products proposed by Carrefour, and they're entering this mode to propose to the end consumer their own brand. Okay, so right now there's 130 CPG manufacturers who have signed worldwide this partnership with Loop. And you can see that there is some global brands, few local brands. There is also some own retailer brand. You have some glass products proposed, some metallics, and some. You could have also some plastic ones, for example, Ariel from P&G that are proposing plastic ones. Okay. So now, if I move to how it will work. We can to go to the Loop Carrefour customer journey. We are going to start the project within e-commerce, home delivery e-commerce, the part that I was managing few months ago. And the idea, if you start by the top image, there's an end consumer that's passing an order on his website. So it's carrefour.fr website. You will have the ability to ever order a CPG product, but maybe he will like to take a Tropicana in a glass bottle. So it will not be anymore €2, but €3, where with the ability that €1 will be refunded at the end when you will give back the products. And in the website, we will ask also the end customer to buy a returnable bag with the value of €2 that will be used both to deliver the products, but also to manage all the reverse logistics. So the end consumer is passing his order, online order. The next day, the delivery guy is going to deliver at his home with both CPG product and also this Loop product in the blue bag that you see on the right. When the end consumer with his daughter will use and will enjoy this product, and as each time he will have an empty packaging, he will put it back, this empty packaging, within the blue bag, and it's going to pass again on order. And once it will be delivered again for the next order, then you will have the ability to give back the empty bag, the returnable bag with the empty packaging to the delivery man. And this delivery man will scan the bag in order to validate and to make all the follow-up of all the returnable process in order then to clean the packaging before filling them back again. Okay, so this is the global view on the consumer point of view. So maybe let me move to the next slide to describe you the main process involving both the end consumer but also the manufacturers and the retailer. Okay, so I'm trying to move to the next slide. So far it doesn't move. Okay, got it. Great. So Petrel, and I'm going to describe also what is the aim and what is providing Petrel in all these projects. But what is most important is that really you understand the process and the way it works. You see there is the consumer that is on the right of the graphic with a Loop product that is she's going to use it. Then so she will have to go on the top on the website to pass the order of both CPG and the Loop products. This order will go down on the warehouse just below, where the order is going to be prepared with the picking process. Then the order will be delivered with the delivery guy you see on the right part. The delivery guy will give all the order to the end consumer, and at the same time will ask the consumer, do you have any bag to return? And if it's the case, she is going to scan the bag, and this information will go to Petrel, the company that I created. And the driver anyway is coming back next day to the warehouse to give back all the empty crates. So returning all the empty packagings with the bags doesn't have any economic or ecologic impact on the planet. And so once at the warehouse, we manage another a truck that is going to take back all the empties to Loop, and Loop is going to scan all the products. So all this reverse logistics is managed by Petrel, and the Loop is going to send all is going to scan all the products, give this information to Petrel, that is going to, and we're going to supervise all the refundable process, and Carrefour is going to refund the end consumer about the price of the bag and the price of each empties. Then Loop is going to scan the products, to clean the products, give back all these empty clean products to the retailers, to manufacturers. And some manufacturers that are, for example, doing bottles, the bottlers, they will clean by themselves, and each manufacturer will fill again all the products, and the Carrefour will replenish and take new order of products based on with returnable packagings. Okay, and so Petrel is doing reverse logistics, refundable, the process, the customer service also, and also we have developed these returning bags, and at the end we send these bags to a jail where they are checked, clean, folded, and sent it back again. Okay, so this is the whole process. And again, it will start in a few weeks from now within Carrefour, and I will be pleased to share it with you, some feedbacks. But just to give you some consumer insights, after 6 months of run here in France with the standalone, what we call the standalone model with Ma Boutique Loop, a single site that has been created, we have a few feedbacks. First of all, the end consumers, they want to go beyond recycling. They're interested to move to reuse and through a refundable process. So this is a first positive impact that was tested 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and compared between Paris, New York, and San Francisco. And it was Paris who came first in terms of positive impact, and just after it was San Francisco, and number 3 was New York. Second insight, consumers are looking for big brands, for mainstream brands, because there is the reinsurance of these brands. They trust them. Even if on our side we do think that also it's quite important to have few local brands to make it also a part of a country, part of a local activity support. But consumers are looking for big brands. Third insight that was important that we got was about the assortment. It's important to have a large assortment covering all the what we call in France the unité de besoin, the usage, and right now we'll Ma Boutique Loop have between 100 and 120 products, but it's first nice steps. But we consider that once it will be totally mature, we will need to be between 400 and 600 products to cover both liquids, classical, product, we could call it épicerie in French, so salted and sweet épicerie, and also not non-food, but what we call DPH in French, about cosmetics, all cosmetics parts. And so that a consumer that moves to Carrefour and that is interested by Loop by Carrefour will have the ability to switch with all these needs in with some returnable packagings, even if there is not all the tastes, all the sizes and whatever. But it's important to have a larger proposal. And the last point, last insight, was really to the request to not have it only on e-commerce, but also to have some stores providing such an approach. And it's why it has been communicated at the end of 2019, but the proxy Carrefour proxy store will also launch such an initiative in 2020, and we are working right now on this initiative. And then the target will be to be a multi-channel, meaning that consumer will have the ability to buy a product in e-commerce and give it back on the store. And also, then next step definitely will be to be a multi-retailer, where you'll be able to maybe buy one product in Carrefour and sell back in Auchan or Casino in France. Okay, so there's a big roadmap in front of us, and I would be pleased to have your questions and to respond to any specific question if you have. Thanks.
Thank you, Hugues. This was a very interesting story, and we are coming to all the questions in a second. So please type in your questions. We have already a couple of them. So we are going to choose 2 or 3 of them. I would like to start from Natalie's presentation. One of the most shocking figures obviously was that we have more than 50% of eco-dismissers. So people that don't care about any of these challenges we're facing every day. So Natalie, if I may ask you to respond, do you have any kind of ideas how these huge numbers of dismissals can be reduced? Have there been any ideas tested already how these kind of consumers can be educated in the right direction?
Thanks for the question, Teresa. First of all, I kind of want to clarify, for the eco-dismissers, it's not necessarily that they have zero caring at all. It is just that they're not taking any action, and they don't think plastic is the most important thing that they should worry about. So they're not bothering to take reusable shopping bags, they're not going to avoid bottles, they're not going to refill their water. We did ask them verbatim, kind of, what do you think about the environment? What do you think about plastic waste? And we found one thing with the dismissers, which was more likely, was this feeling that it shouldn't really be them. It's not fair that they have to feel guilty all the time when they're not the ones that are making the mess. So there was this kind of resentment and this kind of feeling that it was something that the press was just making a big fuss about, and not really something that was relevant to their lives. So there was actually kind of active hostility in some cases. I also kind of want to highlight that that figure is global. And if you look at Europe, that's about 25% of people, for example, in Germany. But, you know, that's still a significant group of people that aren't willing currently to take action. In terms of what to do with them, I would say it's very much about, pretty much about forcing them. So things like the plastic bags, the dismissers, that's the only action they do, because they don't have that much choice, because there's an economic incentive for them to make the change. I think the other thing is to try and be as positive as possible, rather than, because they feel a little bit like they're getting told off and they're sort of trying to almost kick back against this worthy pressure. So how to make it positive and relatable is really important. I would also like to highlight that this isn't necessarily an age thing. There's a lot of perception that young people are really active and older people are pushing back. In our experience, the older people were actually taking more actions than the young ones, because the young ones are sort of saying they care, but within their lives, they value convenience and spontaneity and impulse more than they actually want to make sacrifices for the planet, when we're talking about kind of under 35s.
Okay, thank you very much. So there's one very obvious question which always comes once you're discussing this topic, and this is all around how much are people prepared to pay more for eco-friendly products, or more eco-friendly products. So do you have any evidence, or is this different in different parts of the world, or for different categories? Do you have any evidence here?
I don't have any hard evidence. I have this, again, only 50% of people are willing to pay anything more. And I do know that generally there's a huge premium if I look at products in the market. There's very few kind of mass products that claim to be eco. So I probably wouldn't just look at how much people are willing to pay. I would also look at how many people are willing to pay. Because I think if you're going to charge more than 50% more, you're already only going to have a certain percentage of people in each category that are even willing to pay that for the category as a whole. So if your eco product's kind of moving beyond that, you're going to struggle. But no, I don't have hard data. And I've actually seen lots of different data sets. Most of the time, if you ask a survey, people will just tick the smallest option. So you tend to see people saying, I'd pay less than 5%. But I haven't seen anything tested against products in the market more robustly.
Okay, thank you, Natalie. So there are plenty of questions on, and not only questions, also remarks on whether glass is better than plastic, or whether emissions go up once you use glasses instead of plastic, about biodegradable plastic, whether you would separate it into food waste or recycling. Obviously, we cannot answer all these questions here, but we will answer them all afterwards. But I would like to hand over to Hugues one question on the loop concept. So do you know how many products in the end will be available in loop in Carrefour, Hugo?
Okay, thank you for the question. On the Babbage loop that is already online, there is, I think, 110 products that already are provided. As we're going to start in a few weeks from now, within Carrefour, we'll start maybe with 30, 40 products, but quickly it will raise up to go to these figures around 100. And at the end of the process, we expect to have between 400 to 600 products in order to cover all the families, all product families, and it will include some glass, some metallic, and some plastic packagings. And you know what? We will learn all together what is the type of packaging that are the most important for the end consumer. And just to add up about the pricing that you were talking just before, Natalie. My point of view is that when a consumer will buy a product, we'll ask him to make a cash advance, and that for the returnable packaging, and this money will be refundable at the end of the process. And in some cases, the prices could be higher, but because ever the product could be is different, with a new taste, also because the packaging will be really different with ever new innovations, also a more qualitative approach. So in that case, it's quite normal also to bring more value to the end consumer, and so to bring up some few prices. But also we will learn a lot in the next future about that.
Can I add something to that? Sorry, quickly. Yep. It's an interesting question. I think I really agree with you about the point, if you can add something more so the packaging looks more premium, or they're getting something more than just removing plastic, that makes it a whole package. So when I talked about the holistic amount, I would also say we did do a study where we looked at the deposit scheme in France and what the impact might be on certain categories. And we did project some category loss, but more in the impulse categories, where maybe people are a bit more price sensitive. So I'd expect a huge difference in the categories, with maybe food and impulse being much bigger than maybe something like beauty, where people can be very elastic and there's lots of different components. Thanks.
Okay, thank you both very, very much. I think this is such an interesting topic. We could go on and on and on. As we have already kind of hit the hour right now, I would like to highlight our next webinar. So the third webinar out of our Circular Economy Project series. And this is going to happen on Tuesday, the 4th of February, 2020 at the same time. So 2 o'clock Central European time. This next webinar is going to be hosted by my Italian colleagues, Silvia and Carolina, and we will hear circular economy case studies from Lucar and others. So make sure you are participating in this one as well. If you have any further questions or suggestions, please don't hesitate to contact us directly to Tim again. You can register for the next webinar here. We are going to send you this deck. And if you want to find out more from your local ECR organization, how they go about circular economy, you can also find that on our ecr-community.org website. Thank you so much for participating. We really hope you find it interesting and we delivered some added value to you, to your business, and to you personally. So a very warm goodbye from the ECR community. Thank you.
Thank you, bye.